The ceasefire is over. In Gaza, war again rages, and with it, destruction, despair, and death. We were collecting water to wash our clothes as the bombing started, says Omar Harouz in southern Gaza. He can't find his family. Among the dozens of dead in just the first hours, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, many are women and children.
Yes, tragically, the violence has begun again. The death and destruction has begun again. 7 days of a temporary truce that, man, it really doesn't feel like it's been 7 days. That passed fast. I imagine for those desperately trying to survive in Gaza, it passed much faster. But the attacks by the IDF on Gaza have begun again, and we want to give you more information about what's been going on. Take a look at this.
Smoke billowing from buildings, streets strewn with rubble. The shelling centered on southern Gaza. Israel dropping these leaflets urging residents to flee even further south, warning that certain areas civilians had been told to go are now no longer safe. Overnight, we pressed the IDF on that.
So you're saying that southern Gaza could look like northern Gaza?
I'm saying that if Hamas is in southern Gaza, we have no choice but to go after Hamas where they are located.
Hospitals in Gaza again filling with the wounded, brought in on ambulance and donkey cart. The UN saying around 1.8 million Palestinians have been displaced. And even with some aid coming in, the World Food Program warning families are on the edge of starvation.
So you see there, yes, the bombing has begun again, including in areas that previously civilians in the more northern portions of Gaza had been told to flee to. Just a reminder that anytime you hear the term safe zones, the word temporary should be added, hopefully by the media, but if not, then by the person receiving the message. Both sides, as is always the case, are blaming the other side for the truce being broken. Israeli government spokesperson accused Hamas of failing to provide a list of more hostages for release. Effectively, days of ceasefire had been bought by more hostages being released by Hamas. They added that the group had violated the pause by launching rockets, and says Hamas will now take the mother of all thumpings, taking it very seriously. Hamas in turn blames Israel for the breaking of the ceasefire, saying in a Telegram post they were responsible for persistently rejecting offers throughout the night for the release of detainees. Hamas had proposed an exchange of prisoners and hostages involving elderly people, as well as the return of bodies of Israeli hostages as well. And I defy anyone to say for certain who is actually responsible for it. There's going to be both information and obvious misinformation on both sides. We can't know. It would have been amazing for the ceasefire to have lasted longer, because every single day, again, was being bought by hostages and prisoners being transferred. That, at least as of now, has been broken. And by the way, even prior to the ceasefire officially ending, there was still violence going on at a lower level, but still present. Israeli troops had killed an 8-year-old boy during a raid on a West Bank refugee camp. This is yesterday, and 3 Israelis were killed in a shooting carried out by Hamas militants in Jerusalem. So those weren't considered themselves to be things that broke the ceasefire. Violence was still on a low level continuing, but now it is officially done. The bombing has continued. People's attempts to flee to somewhere that will, at least for a small while, be safe continues. And Yaz, I want to start with you. What do you make of this?
This is heartbreaking, isn't it? Something that was said was that Hamas will take the thumping, whatever they said. It's not going to be Hamas taking the thumping. The Palestinian people are going to take the thumping. And we all know that because that's what we've seen happen. And it's like what you said, whenever there's like a designated safe zone, it's only temporary until it's only going to last as long as the conflict then reaches that space, right? Conflicts like this don't just stay contained within one area, regardless of whatever, the people in this case who are invading the land are going to try to tell you, right? We're up to almost 2 million people displaced right now also, right? So many Palestinians have died within the last month, right? Because of this conflict. But the displaced people also, that doesn't get talked about enough. That's a major problem. We have like an incredible refugee crisis now that is being created. And for what? These people are constantly being pushed off of their land, and now they have nowhere to go. Some other countries now are starting to open their borders, but even that, makes those countries more vulnerable to attack as well. And I will say, during the ceasefire, I saw throughout this whole thing, I've been really careful to kind of manage my own emotions about everything that's going on and just kind of keep my head about it so I can at least, try to discern what's going on. But there was like a TikTok video and it was a Palestinian kid and he was just like so happy that there was a ceasefire and that, the sky was out. And for that was what finally broke me, was just like this happy Palestinian child that, there weren't bombs going off for once. And it was just sad because like, that it wasn't going to last very long. So it's all very sad. And on top of all of that, we have no idea what's going on. Like there's so much conflicting information. We're all just trying to parse it all together and make sense of it.
And it seems that too, just generally within the confusion that's going on, because it's not a simple issue, it's not a simple conflict, and it's decades in the making. That gives the current Israeli administration the opportunity to just keep on power grabbing. And pretty simply put, unless the United States really steps up and pushes for peace, why will anything change? No one's stopping them. Unless there's a complete change in government that has a more humanitarian or peaceful will, then this isn't going to stop. So a lot of this really seems that it's going to hinge on the United States, the Biden administration really stepping up and doing as much as possible, because we are one of Israel's largest allies, and we can do more than we have been. Clearly we can do more. And, that I think it's really not more complicated than that.
Well, there was news today that Secretary of State Antony Blinken says they have been pushing for more to be done to avoid the deaths of civilians. And according to the Secretary of State, after a meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel has agreed to this. Here's a little bit of a discussion about that.
In my meetings today with the Prime Minister and senior Israeli officials, I made clear that before Israel resumes major military operations, it must put in place humanitarian civilian protection plans that minimize further casualties of innocent Palestinians. That means taking more effective steps to protect the lives of civilians, including by clearly and precisely designating areas and places in southern and central Gaza where they can be safe and out of the line of fire. It means avoiding further significant displacement of civilians inside of Gaza. It means avoiding damage to life-critical infrastructure, like hospitals, like power stations, like water facilities. And it means giving civilians who've been displaced to southern Gaza the choice to return to the north as soon as conditions permit. There must be no enduring internal displacement. All of this can be done in a manner that still enables Israel to achieve its objectives.
And according to the Secretary of State, Israel has agreed, at least in principle, to those things, all of which I think seem eminently reasonable, common sense. Also, importantly, verifiable. All of those things can be checked in the near future, and we will see. Will the pace of civilian deaths go down? Will we see a dip in what has been a historic rate of civilian children being killed? We'll be able to find out. We'll see if hospitals in the south are protected from strikes, if populations are allowed to move back to the north at some point. All of this is verifiable. The issue is that as of right now, I guess we just have to take anonymous Israeli officials and Antony Blinken's word on it when the stakes almost could not be higher. Any quick final words from either of you?
Just concerned about everybody. And it does feel like a hopeless situation in a lot of ways. And I don't like saying that, but I just don't see how this is going to get any better anytime soon, at least not like this had to be better yesterday, right? Like if it happened right now, tomorrow would still be too late because we've already lost so many people and so much land has been destroyed as well. He said no more, I don't remember exactly the words he said, but he said he doesn't want more people displaced and no more internal displacement, I think.
Yes.
Which is kind of funny considering everything that's been going on between these two regions over the past few decades. We'll see what happens. Blinken seems optimistic. It's also interesting to me, and you see this not just here, but in all kinds of conflicts around the world, whenever the country says, okay, we'll allow for humanitarian aid to protect the people that we're actively bombing. So that happens all the time, and it never makes any sense to me, but here we are.
My final words on this is that this particular issue, in my opinion, is going to be the Biden administration's biggest hurdle that they have to deal with in the general election. Donald Trump is his own biggest hurdle. But this is an issue that is obviously, as we've seen, very tragic, very complicated. It's not just going to end anytime soon on its own. This right here is really what the Biden administration needs to focus on, to just have more security winning in 2024. So I think that they're going to do something about it because of that. It won't be perfect, but I don't suspect that they're just going to do nothing whatsoever. But hopefully they do more than, the bare minimum, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they can afford to do nothing, considering how it seems to be hurting them, particularly with young voters, at least as of right now. And we've been saying we want them to do more. We want them to, really use their diplomatic power, as well as also pressure and leverage, which we have and have not chosen to use as a country so far, to push for peace and for strategies that result in fewer civilian deaths. They were at least partially involved. The State Department with the ceasefire being put into place, and now Blinken says he's gotten some assurances around protections for civilians. So if we see that over the next month much more is done to stop civilians from needlessly dying, then that will be deserving of credit. But as of right now, it's just tweets and it's speeches. That's all it is. We have to see the actual results of it.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below, because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.